Hello, everybody, and good morning. My name is Ricardo Cabrera, and I am the Operations Manager at the Latino Chamber of Commerce of Boulder County. And today we have Julie Van Dolman from EFFA. Welcome, Julie. How are you today?
Welcome. Thank you, Ricardo. Julie Van Dommelen. I have a tough Dutch name, and but most everyone calls me Julie. So,
so
for that
reason. We'll go with Julie. Thank you. All right, Julie. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I have been at EFFA. I'm the executive director at EFFA. I've been here for about 6.5 years. Though I grew up in Colorado, I spent most of my adult career abroad, working internationally. And during that time, I had the opportunity to live in South America, work a lot on Latin America. And during that time I was with the World Bank, I worked on poverty and safety nets. So it was interesting to come home, raise a child here, and bring my international experience to EFFA.
Excellent. That sounds like a well-rounded career, and it puts you in a perfect spot there at EFFA. So, well, since we're talking about EFFA and you're the executive director, what does EFFA stand for, and what do you guys do there?
So EFFA is the Emergency Family Assistance Association. You can see why everyone just calls it EFFA. And EFFA is a community-based safety net and family resource center. EFFA actually started as a response to the Spanish flu over 100 years ago, when we were in very much the same position, and the churches and the women's groups and the civic groups got together and started essentially an emergency fund and services for families in need, and it's carried that tradition forward for a century. EFFA has programs in several areas. We have that basic safety net, which is our basic needs program. We run a food bank and have direct financial assistance. So if you can't make ends meet in a month, we can help you out with rent, medical bills, other basic needs, utilities. And also EFFA is a one-stop shop. So if you can't get it here, we can also direct you to other resources in the community. We're very plugged in to the broad safety net and human service resources available in Boulder. Since the 1970s, EFFA has also provided housing for families with children that are homeless. So we're the main providers of kind of rooftop housing. We have 56 apartments. They're on apartment building sites around the county. And that's for families that really don't have a place to live. And we have a whole program around that, including case management and children's programs for kids in the housing sites. So beyond the basic needs in the housing, EFFA has branched out in recent years as a family resource center. We have other children's programming. For example, we'll fund summer camps because it's really important for kids to have, for families to have childcare and for kids to have positive engagement during the non-school months. We also run what we call community enrichment. It's programs like getting ahead classes, nutrition classes, things that build skills and connections and leadership in the community. And all of that as our programs. And then about 4 years ago, we started an advocacy program. And we thought it's not enough just to help people as they come in the door, but we need to work on changing the conditions in our community that make them have to come to us. And so we work a lot on taking legislative positions, policy stances, community awareness about poverty and homelessness and housing issues and wage issues that help everyone in the community. So that's what EFFA does.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Don't get me started. I can keep going.
Yeah, no, that's a lot. So okay. So let's back up a little bit. So you guys you have a bunch of different programs. You have the financial assistance, which is for individuals that they're having a bad month. Maybe they can't make rent, and you do help enough to get by for a month or two. And you have individual experts that are counselors that take people in, do a quick registration, and then they counsel and help you with that. You have a food bank, so you can go there and get food as well. Do you guys have a clothing store?
No, we don't do clothing, but we can do vouchers for both furniture and clothing at like Goodwill if you need furniture and clothing.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so you have some sort of a solution for clothing and furniture. You have actual physical housing. That's incredible. So you take individuals that are at risk of being homeless, maybe a transitional type of housing. You have all this empowering and leadership classes. Do you put those two together? So you take somebody in and help them move along, if you will, so they don't stay there forever?
Yeah, so our philosophy is of strength-based case management. So we kind of meet people where they are and help them build a positive future for themselves. In our housing, for example, we have two kinds. One that is short-term, kind of more emergency. It's fully furnished. It's free for the first 3 months. It's really for the most critical cases. And then we have transitional housing up to 2 years where you might pay about $500 a month. So families can transition into the more longer term housing. But throughout that whole process for families and it's only for families with children, not adult individuals.
Okay.
The whole kind of goal of the program is that you exit that into adequate, safe, affordable housing. We have employment kind of lenses on case management so that we can help you with employment goals, have people sign up for programs that they might not have been aware of, get on lists for vouchers. So we have on-site case managers that work intensely with families throughout the whole period. And they're also working with the kids because kids going through homelessness, it's quite a impactful shock in the life. They lose a lot of, stability in their lives. So we make sure they're signed up for after school activities and summer camps. We have on-site after school programming, homework help. We Wi-Fi the apartments so that they can stay. It's been a challenge with COVID to have them be able to continue to engage in schooling. So it's a pretty complex and comprehensive service around those families. Those are the families in our community with kids that are most at risk, is those that have lost their housing. So we help them sign up for childcare, all of that.
And that is so awesome to hear that you're not forgetting the kids, which in a lot of cases, we forget about the kids and they're the most vulnerable. So you mentioned COVID, and obviously we're hopefully, knock on wood, getting out of this and leaving the COVID last year, the COVID year. So how did you guys pivot to make sure that you could respond appropriately?
So for EFFA, it was in our DNA. We started with the pandemic. So all of our systems were, it wasn't like learning to do something new. We just scaled everything up and tried to figure out how to operate safely. So we continued operating our food bank, but you could no longer come in and shop for food. We would pre-pack a box and hand them out to people. We've now figured out a way to have them kind of almost like a sushi menu, kind of sign up for when they come what they would prefer, and it gets quickly boxed and handed out. So we've tried to build some choice even into the COVID world of food assistance. The biggest impact has been on our direct financial assistance. So if on a pre-COVID year, EFFA would do almost $1 million a year in financial assistance. This year, we're looking at $3.5 million of financial assistance. So more than 3 times what we typically would give out, and almost all of that is in rent, some in utilities. It's the demand has been huge. Even with the moratorium, people like to keep up with their rent, and it just builds up. And so now we're, clearing big arrears. And so fortunately, the community has also responded by money. It's been a very different impact. A lot of folks have, with resources, have gotten more resources, and those without resources have seen much harder impacts on employment and their own livelihood. So I'm happy to report that, the part of Boulder with means has really stepped up and provided funding. And we come from a tradition of neighbors helping neighbors, and they really have. So a lot of that money is private money that we've been able to scale up into.
Yeah, and I hear that all over the place that expenses and the need went up, but also the donations and the help from the public, and that's wonderful to hear. It's a great donating culture that exists in the U.S. and it's part of the American dream, if you ask me. You know, there's a lot of aspects to that, and this is one of them. So okay, so
well, you know, we've been around so long that we actually have donors that used to use EFFA services.
oh,
You know,
wow.
and they got beyond in a place in life, and now they get back to EFFA. Yeah, it's interesting to see. It's wonderful.
Wow, that's the ultimate compliment. I love to see that. You know, the teacher surpassing the student surpassing the teacher, right? So let me ask you this then. So who is eligible? So you go in, and is there a particular audience that you serve?
So we serve residents of Boulder County, and it's a little complicated on our territory because we work very closely with our other family resource centers, the Our Center and Sister Carmen, the Our Center in Longmont and Sister Carmen in East County. So for the food banks, if you live in the particular community, you would go to that food bank or get financial assistance through that, your local family resource center. So EFFA serves the city of Boulder and the mountains west, like Netherland in that area, for those things. That said, we coordinate all the time with people. If you live in Lafayette but work in Boulder and want to pick up food at EFFA, we always work that out with Sister Carmen. So there's a geographical requirement. Our housing is across the county. Beyond that, we serve everyone. We do not require documentation status. We don't require age or income statements. We want to kind of, when you meet with the EFFA case manager, they're just going to ask you what brings you in today and what's going on in your life, and in a more holistic conversation. So you can be in a senior living alone, you can be a family, but you have to be a Boulder County resident and within our service territory for food and financial assistance. For our housing, the one requirement is that you've been in Boulder County for 90 days. We think it's a hard place to get by in Boulder, and we don't want to be the landing spot for families trying to make a go of it. I mean, we really want to prioritize those that are already here, kids in school, have had some kind of anchor in the community and have lost their housing. Wow,
that's great. So that's right. So one of the important things I heard here is that you guys are regional, so you take care of your Boulder County organization, but in most cases it's the city of Boulder and the vicinity that you take in for most of your services. And there's three family centers or resource centers. There's the Sister Carmen, which is in Lafayette. Then you have Our Center in Longmont, and then you have you guys EFFA in the city of Boulder. Now, whoever shows up, if they're not in the right place, you're just going to point them to the right place, and they're going to get help anyway. So
yes, they will get you to the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Okay, I think we've learned a lot today, Julie. So thank you for all your great information. Did I forget to ask you something?
No, I think that covers our programs, and we have a website if people want more information.
Absolutely, and I'm going to put all that information down here in our description, where I'm going to put in website, phone numbers, email addresses, all the important information, so you can call Julie. EFFA in Spanish or in English, I'm assuming that you guys are that in other languages, maybe?
Yes, actually, that's what I did forget to mention. All of our case managers in the Boulder office are bilingual, bicultural. We have a mountain office in Netherland with someone that's mountain cultural, if you will, of that community. And all of our contacts can be done fully in Spanish or English. And then for other immigrant communities, other languages, we use a service, call-in service. So we have, Nepalese, and that you can call.
Yeah, so the language line, it's a phone call away, and you can have 300 languages, so you get an interpreter in no time. So that's awesome.
You will meet with someone, if you're a monolingual Spanish speaker, you'll meet with someone that can absolutely meet your needs and fully communicate.
Excellent. Well, that's awesome, Julie. Thank you so very much for your time, for your experience, for all the information. But before we go, I have a surprise question for you. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
What is your favorite word?
I think gratitude is the one that makes me feel the best when I say it.
Excellent.
It
That's
reminds me to
awesome.
be thankful, you know.
Yes, beautiful. And with that, thank you, everybody. And until next time.